Calling all safety pros, risk leaders, and training champions. If your caffeine game doesn't match your mission, you're sipping from the wrong cup. At Safe Start Strategies, we've brewed up something bold, professionally themed mugs built for those who lead with purpose. Whether you're writing incident reports or running tabletop exercises, your mug should speak your language. Emergency Ops Fuels for responders on the move. Train Safe Lead for trainers making a difference. Risk Analysis Mode on for those crunching numbers and making it safer for the rest. These aren't conference freebies, they're confidence on your desk. Great for certification gifts, team recognition, or just owning your safety swagger. Find your mission mug now at TikTok Shop. Just search Safe Start Strategies, number 4, letter U. Lead the change, lift the mug, let the message show. To Voices of Safety, where we speak truth to systems, center lived experience, and elevate the brilliance of those navigating the intersections of leadership, legacy, and liberation. I'm your host, Dr. Sharita Green, and today we're stepping into Chapter 1 of the Colored People's Guide to the Corporate Conundrum, a bold, unfiltered exploration of what it really means to survive and lead in spaces that were never built with us in mind. This chapter doesn't ease us in, it calls us out and calls us up. It holds a mirror to the corporate machine and asks, what does it cost to be excellent when your presence is still questioned? What does it mean to be strategic when the rules were written without your voice? And how do we reclaim our power, not just to survive the conundrum, but to rewrite it? So grab your journal, take a breath, and lean in. This isn't just a reading, it's a reckoning. Let's begin. Table of contents. Opening letter to the reader. Chapter 1. Corporate characters. Chapter 2, coded corporate language. Chapter 3, corporate cosplay. Chapter 4, the show pony effect. Chapter 5, protecting your peace. A closing letter to the reader. Dedication. I owe complete thankfulness and appreciation to God. In days of darkness, He was my source. At times, my solitary glimmer of hope. All that I am is through His grace and mercy. My struggles and pain have given beauty to my ashes. Without them, I would not possess the insight required to write this book. Every scar has shaped my perspective. Every trial has deepened my understanding. What once felt like ruin has become revelation. To my daughter Alexis, my pride and joy, my motivation to keep going, and the living example of my best work. You are the heartbeat behind every page. To my parents and ancestors whose sacrifices made this moment possible, I was nourished by their stories, inspired by their labor, and continue to benefit from the fruit of their vision. This work is a direct manifestation of their collective dreams, activated without limitation. This is my opening letter to the reader. Dear reader, congratulations. You made it to a corner office with a substantial salary and may have received stock options. However, you will soon realize over time, much that you celebrate today will be mired in subtle microaggressions and isolation and eventual intellectual frustration. When you realize your additive value may not match your reckoning, this will wear on your psyche over time and has the potential to make you emotionally bankrupt, encroaching on the success of all your relationships. As depressing and demoralizing as it seems, it is a reality that demands blunt truth, not for shock, but for survival. It is naive and unprepared not to consider this as a reality potentially impacting one's career trajectory behind the scenes. We acknowledge the exception, but we do not center it. Our purpose is to illuminate the lived experiences of the minority experiences forged by the unchecked power of a corrupt majority. If you are reading this book and are part of the offended majority, then stop. This message may not be for you, nor understood by you, or experienced by you, making any scenarios mentioned unrelatable to you. This purpose of this book is adding truth with straightforward, sarcastic humor to a conundrum that many people of color experience daily. This book is not to promote hate. In fact, it is my hope that this serves as a mirror of the behavior of people and the underlying pain it causes. Let this piece serve as an emotional release for the pained few and a teaching tool for others. This material is inspired by lived experiences, keen observations, research narratives, and the long-term impact of the ever-shifting goalposts tied to the pursuit of the American dream. I leave you with this African-American proverb: every shut-eye ain't sleep, every smiling face ain't a loving face, and every goodbye ain't gone. Warmest regards, Dr. Sharita Green. Chapter 1, Corporate Characters. The poem, The Chameleon. They walk in truth, but only halfway. The rest is tucked behind their teeth. Smiling in someone else's dialect, two faces, one polished for praise, the other sharpened for survival. They know which one to wear and when. They're the echo in every meeting, repeating what others want to hear, then rewriting the minutes to serve their own ends. They clap for your wins, but count your steps. They mentor with warmth, then mimic your moves to climb. A chameleon, yes, but not just to blend. They shift to control, to collect, to conceal. Their loyalty is a ledger, balanced by benefit. Their empathy, a performance with perfect lighting. They thrive in duality, a master of mirrors and masks. But beneath the shimmer, even they forget who they are. Corporate characters, the faces behind the system, and how they target minority professionals. The performance beneath the profession. In corporate spaces, not everyone shows up as their full self, and not everyone shows up with integrity. Some arrive in costume, performing roles that protect power, proximity, and privilege. These are the corporate characters. Individuals who operate within systems of exclusion while appearing neutral, helpful, or even progressive. They are not always malicious. Often they are strategic. They know how to navigate hierarchy, how to speak the language of leadership, and how to maintain their position by managing perception. But for minority professionals, these characters can be deeply harmful. Their behavior is often coded, their bias cloaked in professionalism, and their impact felt in silence. How corporate characters move. Corporate characters don't just exist, they maneuver. They build alliances, manage upward, and curate their image. They often thrive in ambiguity, using charm, compliance, or selective advocacy to maintain influence. They rarely challenge systems. They adapt to them. And in doing so, they reinforce the very structures that exclude others. They move through informal power networks, hallway conversations, happy hours, and closed-door meetings where real decisions are made. Performative performance reviews, shaping narratives about who is ready, strategic, or difficult. Mentorship and sponsorship, selectively offering access while gatekeeping opportunity. DEI initiatives, showing up for the optics, not outcomes. Their power lies not just in what they say, but in what they don't say, in who they protect, in who they exclude, in how they frame feedback, opportunity, and visibility. Archetypes of harm. Corporate characters who target minority professionals? Let's name them. These are not just personalities. They are patterns, and they often show up when minority professionals begin to rise, speak truth, or challenge the status quo. The gatekeeper. Behavior controls access to opportunity, visibility, and advancement. Impact blocks performance, promotion, withholds information, and delays development. Scenario. You've exceeded expectations, but your manager says you're not quite ready for client-facing work. No clear feedback, no plan, just a closed door. How to handle. Document everything. Ask for written criteria. Request measurable goals. Build relationships outside their control. The chameleon. Behavior. Adapts to every room, mimics ideas, and performs allyship when convenient. Impact. Co-opts your voice, dilutes your contributions, and takes credit without accountability. Scenario. You propose a trauma-informed framework. Weeks later, they present it as their own, with no mention of you. How to handle. Keep records. Speak up in collaborative spaces. Build visibility through multiple channels. Protect your intellectual contributions. The silent ally. Behavior expresses support privately, but remains quiet in public. Impact leaves you isolated in moments of harm or advocacy. Scenario. After a microaggression in a meeting, they message you. I'm so sorry that happened. But they say nothing in the room. How to handle. Name the silence. Invite them to speak up. If they won't, recalibrate your trust. Allyship without action is performance. The mirror. Behavior reflects dominant norms and expects you to conform. Impact penalizes authenticity, cultural expression, and emotional truth. Scenario. You're told your tone is too passionate and you need to sound more executive. How to handle. Reclaim your voice. Ask for clarity. Challenge bias standards. Send feedback from culturally competent mentors. The scorekeeper. Behavior. Tracks your mistakes, minimizes your wins, and compares you unfairly. Impact. Undermines confidence, creates imposter syndrome, and distorts your reputation. Scenario. You're told you need to prove yourself again, despite years of results. How to handle. Build your own archive. Celebrate your wins. Share your impact publicly. Don't let them rewrite your story. The frost. Behavior, emotionally distant, avoids connection, and treats colleagues as transactional entities. Impact. Creates a cold, isolating environment where minority professionals feel invisible or undervalued. Scenario. You greet them warmly each morning. They respond with a nod, if at all. When you speak in meetings, they rarely acknowledge your input. Don't internalize their detachment. Build warmth and connection elsewhere. Document your contributions and seek feedback from more emotionally attuned leaders. The intellectual gatekeeper. Behavior uses jargon, credentials, or academic elitism to dismiss lived experience and practical wisdom. Impact undermines cultural knowledge, emotional intelligence, and a community-based insight. Scenario. You share a trauma-informed strategy rooted in community healing. They respond, where's the peer-reviewed evidence? How to handle? Validate your own expertise. Cite both formal and informal sources. Frame lived experience as data. Elevate stories as evidence. The sanitizer. Behavior erases uncomfortable truths, avoids conflict, and insists on positivity over accountability. Impact silences conversations about race, trauma, and systemic harm. Scenario. You raise concerns about racial bias in hiring. They say, let's focus on what's going well. How to handle. Hold the line. Use restorative language to name harm. Invite discomfort as a path to growth. Refuse to be gaslit by optimism. The puzzle master. Behavior creates confusion, withholds clarity, and thrives in ambiguity. Impact keeps minority professionals guessing, destabilized, and unsure of expectations. Scenario. You ask for guidance on a project. They respond with vague suggestions and shifting deadlines. How to handle. Ask for specifics in writing. Create your own clarity. Big management tools to track progress and accountability. The energy vampire. Behavior constantly seeks emotional labor, validation, or support, especially from marginalized colleagues. Impact drains your energy while offering little in return. Scenario. After every DEI meeting, they come to you for reassurance. Did I say the right thing? How to handle. Set boundaries. Redirect them to resources. Protect your emotional bandwidth. You are not their coach, therapist, or conscience. The saboteur. Behavior subtly undermines your work, reputation, or relationships, often behind closed doors. Impact erodes trust, damages credibility, and creates professional instability. Scenario. You hear from a colleague that your manager questions your fit for leadership without ever discussing it with you. How to handle? Build a coalition of truth tellers. Document your impact. Confront the behavior directly when safe. Consider escalation if pattern persists. The tokenizer. Behavior elevates you for optics, not impact. Uses your identity to signal diversity while ignoring your voice. Impact exploits representation without honoring contribution. Scenario. You're asked to be on every panel, every photo, every DEI committee, but your strategic ideas are never implemented. How to handle. Reclaim your name. Say no to performative inclusion. Ask for decision-making power, not just visibility. The bricklayer. Behavior builds barriers through policy, bureaucracy, or the way things have always been. Impact prevents innovation, blocks equity initiatives, and resists change. Scenario. You propose a flexible work policy for trauma recovery. They respond, that's not how we do things here. How to handle? Present data, share stories, build coalitions, push for policy review. Don't let tradition become a weapon. Emotional and psychological impact. Navigating these characters is not just strategic, it's emotional. It creates hypervigilance, constantly scanning for harm, exclusion or manipulation, self-doubt, questioning your instincts, voice, and worth, burnout, performing excellence while managing harm, isolation, feeling unseen, unsupported, and misunderstood. This is not just workplace stress, it's trauma, and it must be named, addressed, and healed. Trauma informs strategies for protection. You cannot control these characters, but you can protect your peace. Here's how. Name the pattern. Language like gatekeeping, tone policing, or co-opting helps you externalize the harm. Document everything. Keep records of feedback, contribution, and decisions. Build outside alliances. Find your mentors, sponsors, and communities beyond your immediate team. Set boundaries. Say no to emotional labor, unpaid advocacy, or performative inclusion. Reclaim your voice. Speak in your natural cadence. Share your story. Own your impact. Practice restoration. Engage in rituals that return you to yourself. Writing, movement, ancestral connection, rest. These archetypes or corporate characters are not just personalities. They are survival strategies within systems that reward conformity and punish disruption. For minority professionals, recognizing these patterns is a form of liberation. And while you may not be able to change them overnight, you can choose how you respond. You can protect your peace, You can reclaim your power. You can build legacy in spaces that were never designed for your truth. It allows us to name the harm, protect your energy, and build new pathways towards healing and impact. You do not have to play their game. You can write new rules. When I titled the book, The Colored People's Guide to the Corporate Conundrum, I knew I was invoking a word that carries weight, historical, emotional, and deeply personal. Color is not just a relic of the past. It is a reminder of how language was used to categorize, contain, and control Black identity, the identity of people of color. It's the term that sat on water fountains, school entrances, and hospital wings. It's the word that preceded Negro, Black, African American, each shift in nomenclature reflecting a struggle for dignity, visibility, and self-definition. And yet, despite the decades, the systems we navigate today, unfortunately, still echo the same biases that birth that word. This title is not satire, it's strategy. It's a mirror held up to corporate America, exposing the subtle and not so subtle ways minorities, Black professionals are still asked to shrink, perform, and endure. The conundrum isn't just about climbing the ladder. It's about surviving the climb without losing your soul. It's about being brilliant and still questioned, being qualified and still overlooked, being present and still unseen. I chose the title to honor the elders who endured boardrooms that mirrored plantations and to speak to the young professionals who feel the sting of still being the only one in spaces that claim diversity but resist equity. This guide is our blueprint, our survival manual. It's our declaration that we are no longer asking for permission to belong. We are building tables, rewriting policies, and reclaiming our narratives. Colored may have been the label they gave us, but in this book, it's become the banner under which we rise, resist, and redefine what leadership looks like. Chapter 1 of the Colored People's Guide to the Corporate Conundrum opens with a bold, unflinching mirror that's held up to the reader, especially for those who have spent years navigating professionalism while carrying the weight of racialized expectation. As the author, I chose to begin with the raw truth that corporate spaces, despite their polished diversity statements and performative inclusion efforts, still operate on systems that were never designed for structure. This chapter is not just a critique. It is a coded survival guide. Every anecdote, every observation is a breadcrumb for those who know how to read between the lines. It's a nod to the elders who taught us how to read the room, how to stay 2 steps ahead, and how to never let them see you sweat. Chapter 1 sets the stage for a journey that is both strategic and spiritual. It invites the reader to confront the emotional labor of being the only one, while also reclaiming the brilliance and adaptability and ancestral wisdom that makes us more than qualified. We are essential. This chapter is not just an introduction, it's an invocation, a call to remember who we are, why we're here, and how we will not just survive the conundrum, we will rewrite it. I challenge you all to answer a few questions for yourself as you reflect on this chapter. What parts of myself have I silenced to survive? And what would it take to lead without apology? Describe the characters at your job. Reflect on how you respond to them. If you could speak freely to the characters in your workplace, those who uphold harmful norms while pretending to be neutral, what would you say? Write the letter you'll never send and let it be your release. Who are the performers in your workplace? Those who wear professionalism like a costume. How does their performance affect your ability to show up authentically? And what emotional labor does it demand of you? Reflect on a time when a colleague's corporate character disrupted your peace or progress. What did you feel, and what did you need that wasn't offered? In what ways have you felt pressured to become a corporate character yourself? Calling all safety pros, risk leaders, and training champions. If your caffeine game doesn't match your mission, you're sipping from the wrong cup. At Safe Start Strategies, we've brewed up something bold, professionally themed mugs built for those who lead with purpose. Whether you're writing incident reports or running tabletop exercises, your mug should speak your language. Emergency Ops Fuels for responders on the move. Train Safe, Lead Loud for trainers making a difference. Risk Analysis Mode on for those crunching numbers and making it safer for the rest. These aren't conference freebies. They're confidence on your desk. Great for certification gifts, team recognition, or just owning your safety swagger. Find your mission mug now at TikTok Shop. Just search Safe Start Strategies, number 4, letter U. Lead the change, lift the mug, let the message show.